If you're 35 years old, making $60,000 a year, and you've never invested a single dollar in your life, you can still retire a millionaire. That's not motivational fluff. That's not a sales pitch. That's just math. There is a system written directly into the US tax code that takes a normal middle-class American income and turns it into $1.5 million by the time you're 65. It takes about 30 minutes to set up. It takes about $300 a paycheck to run. You do not need to start a business. You do not need to buy a single piece of real estate. You do not need to pick a stock. You do not need crypto. You don't even need to keep watching the news. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what the system is, why it works, why almost nobody actually does it, and how to set it up tonight in 3 steps. Stay with me. The math at the end is going to surprise you. Let me tell you why this video exists. The single most common belief about retirement in this country is, I don't make enough. If you survey 1,000 Americans on a $60,000 salary about whether they'll have $1 million at retirement, almost 90% will say no. Most will laugh at the question. They've been told their entire life that wealth requires a high income, a side hustle, a startup, or a piece of real estate. None of that is actually true. The math doesn't care about your salary. The math cares about 3 things: how much you save, how long you save it for, and how it grows while you're not looking. If you get those 3 things right, you will end up with $1 million on a $60,000 salary. If you get any one of them wrong, you won't, even on $200,000 a year. That's why some teachers and plumbers retire with 7 figures, and some software engineers retire with nothing. Here's the system. Step 1.
Put 6% of your paycheck into your employer's 401k. Not 3, not 0, 6. The reason is the match. Almost every American employer with a 401k will match somewhere between 3 and 5% of your contributions, dollar for dollar. That match is literally free money. The Fidelity 401k system pays out an average employer match of about 4.5% of salary. On $60,000, that's $2,700 a year, every year, that the company will give you for filing one form. If you skip the match, you are turning down a guaranteed $2,700 a year for the rest of your career. Over 30 years, that's about $80,000 in foregone wages. Most Americans turn it down. Step 2. Open a Roth IRA and put the maximum into it every year. The 2025 limit is $7,000. A Roth IRA is the cleanest, tax-advantaged account the American system gives a working-class earner. You put in money you've already paid tax on. It grows tax-free. You take it out tax-free at retirement. Every dollar you put in a Roth at 35 becomes about $7 at 65, and the IRS never sees a cent of the gain. If your income is under $146,000 filing single, you can contribute the full amount. That's almost everybody making 60 grand. The accounts open in 15 minutes. Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab all do it for free, no minimum. Most people delay opening one because it feels complicated. It is not complicated. It is one of the 3 or 4 most generous things the U.S. tax system has ever offered a normal earner. Step 3. Put every dollar you contribute in both accounts into a broad market index fund. Not a stock, not a sector fund, not a hot pick, a total market or S&P 500 index fund. The ticker is VTI or VOO at Vanguard, FZROX at Fidelity, SWTSX at Schwab. They cost almost nothing to own. They hold every major company in the U.S. economy in one fund. When the economy grows, they grow. When the economy crashes, they recover. Every single time in the entire history of the American stock market. Over the last 100 years, the S&P 500 has averaged about 10% a year before inflation and about 7% after. 7% after inflation is the magic number. That's the number that quietly turns ordinary savings into a fortune. Now let's run the math, because this is the part that's going to make some of you actually do this. You're 35. You make $60,000. You set up the system tonight. You put 6% of your paycheck, $3,600 a year, into your 401k. Your employer adds an average 4.5% match, about $2,700. That's $6,300 a year going into the 401k. You also put the full $7,000 into your Roth IRA. Total going in every year, $13,300 from a $60,000 salary.
After tax, that's around $250 a paycheck, bi-weekly, about the cost of a cell plan, a streaming bundle, and one nice dinner out. You hold that for 30 years. You do nothing else. You don't trade, you don't time the market, you don't move money around. You let the index fund do its job. At an average 7% after inflation return, you retire at 65 with $1,260,000 in today's purchasing power. If you push the 401k contribution to 10%, $6,000 on top of the match, total going in is $15,700 a year, and the number at 65 is closer to $1.5 million. If you stick at the same plan but start at 30 instead of 35, the same $13,300 a year ends up at almost $2 million, because compound interest does almost all of its work in the last decade. That last sentence is the most important one in this video. Read it again.
Compound interest does almost all of its work in the last decade. The first 10 years feel slow. The last 10 years feel like cheating. Most people quit somewhere in the slow part. The math punishes them for it. So why doesn't everybody do this? A few reasons. The system isn't taught in school. Your employer mentions the 401k once, on your first day, in the middle of a stack of paperwork, and never again. The match is buried in the benefits PDF. Roth IRAs are not advertised by anyone because nobody makes a commission selling you one. The whole structure was designed to reward you, but the marketing was outsourced to nobody, so almost nobody knows. The other reason is simpler. $300 a paycheck feels like a lot. People look at it and think, I can't afford that right now. I'll start next year. They say that for 10 years in a row.
By the time they finally start, the math is twice as expensive. Because every year you wait at the start cuts your final number by roughly 5%. $300 a paycheck at 35 is $1.25 million at 65. $300 a paycheck at 45 is about $500,000 at 65. Same money, same job, different timing. A few common objections, fast. Credit card debt. Pay it down first if it's above 7%, then come back to this. Might switch jobs. The 401k follows you. Roll it into an IRA when you leave. Nothing is lost. 45 and feel too late. You aren't. 20 years at $15,000 a year, 7%, gets you to about $640,000. Not $1 million, but a real retirement most of your peers won't have. Don't trust the market. There has never been a 30-year window in the history of the S&P 500 that lost money. Not one, including the ones with the Great Depression, the dot-com crash, 2008, and COVID.
Markets fall hard, they always recover, and they keep grinding upward over decades. You don't need to predict it, you just need to be in it. So that's the entire system. Step 1, 6% of your salary into your 401k to capture the match. Step 2, $7,000 a year into a Roth IRA. Step 3, every dollar into a broad market index fund. Set it on automatic. Don't touch it for 30 years. That's it. That's the whole video. Most of the people watching this won't do it. Not because they can't afford it, they can. Not because it's hard, it isn't. It's because $300 a paycheck right now feels heavier than $1.3 million in 30 years. The brain is wired to weigh today more than tomorrow.
If you can just override that wiring for 15 minutes tonight, open the 401k page at work, raise your contribution to 6%, open a Roth IRA at Fidelity or Vanguard, set up an automatic monthly transfer of about $600, pick the broad market index fund. You'll have done in 15 minutes what most Americans never do in their entire working life. The math will do the rest. Tonight is a good night to do it.